And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, April 19th, Christmas Eve, you might say. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. We got another 3-game slate ahead of us, and it's going to look a little bit different than it did on the strategy show because we may have Giannis now, and we still don't know the status of all of the other Q tags. So this should be a fun one. Before we do anything, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, what's good?
Yeah, this is more in line with kind of like just regular season DFS in general, where like we have a couple Q tags that really, really matter. It's different than we've had so far this postseason.
All right. Well, chat is already at it. Neil is kicking it off. I know you have no idea what's about to happen. So we had a conversation on the strategy show this morning, comparable to where we were a couple days ago. So I'm going to ask you something.
Megan Fox breast milk?
No. Worse. This is a conversation that Laffy had at the barbershop this morning. So I'm prefacing this. I had nothing to do with this. He brought all of this onto the show. You're forced to choose one of these two options. You sleep with the Incredible Hulk, but the Incredible Hulk has lady parts downstairs, or Megan Fox, but she's got man parts.
Isn't this kind of just like sleeping with the fish from The Boys?
I don't know what that means.
You haven't seen The Boys?
No.
Oh, it's actually good. But there's I'm probably getting it wrong, but one of the superhero characters has gills that serve as feminine parts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this is rough.
The Hulk with lady bits, or Megan Fox with man bits.
It's obviously the Hulk, right?
That's what I said. Thank you. I snap answered Hulk. Laffy's team Megan Fox here.
The only argument for Megan Fox is if because you can brag about that to your friends and just leave out details. But other than that, how?
I don't know.
I can't think of an argument for it.
Neither could I. So thank you for that. Laffy didn't think that I would ask you on the show. I was just like, who do you think you're talking to? Yeah, I snap answered Hulk. Laffy was on the opposite end of this one. So yeah, we're on the same page.
The
Hulk would probably destroy you or accidentally kill you. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if it's the Hulk, I assume it's not going to be the Hulk by the time it's over, and the anger is just going to be gone.
I was talking about in Laffy's case.
No, I didn't even hear your question.
Oh, I asked if he clarified top or bottom preference, or
you are top in these scenarios. So you're no pain on your end. I mean, it's a no-brainer if it's the other way around. It's got to be Megan Fox at that point.
Wait, what?
I mean, I want no business of being on the receiving end of the Hulk.
No, but the Hulk, there is no receiving end from the Hulk.
I feel like there is in that scenario, one way or the other.
How?
I don't grip strength. I don't know. I assume it's a problem. So that's where we're at. That was this morning. That was this morning. Too many people saying Megan Fox. Too many people. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. You know what's really crazy? In 4 or 5 years, you're gonna be able to do that. With a VR helmet on, you're just gonna be like, bloop, bloop, give me the Hulk, lady bits. Let's put us here. We're good to go. So I don't know. I guess Laffy didn't show up like a coward. Said he would tune in. Didn't do it. Not surprised. Hit the like button if you haven't done it already. Rub it in Laffy's face. Who is Megan Fox? That's a great question. That was part of the reason that I answered the way that I did. This is a woman that was with Brian Austin Green and MGK. That's not that lack of confidence is appalling to me. I'm more interested in the Hulk side just because she seems unwell in the brain. Don't love it. It's just just because she was hot in Transformers 10 years ago. Okay, I'll be all right. I forgot to ask this part though. I didn't ask which Hulk. Is it Ed Norton? Is it Mark Ruffalo? He's one of my favorite actors. I mean, there's so many options here. Is it Lou Ferrigno? Because that makes it a little weirder.
Yeah.
Shout out to Role Models, I guess, right? No, that's not Role Models. That's I Love You Man, right?
Yeah.
Say Paul Rudd, whatever. You know what I mean? I got there when I needed to. All right, you ready to break these games down and get rid of this topic?
I would love to. I've never been more excited to talk about basketball.
There we go. See, that was the whole goal. Lead off with this, make you want to do the show. You've never wanted to do a show ever. So this is perfect. All right, here we go. First game up, Los Angeles Lakers, 1-point favorites in Memphis, 227 total. Not a lot to talk about here on the Lakers side. Like, we don't have, this is one of the few spots where we don't have any question of anything. LeBron's probable, AD's probable, Schroeder's probable. Scottie Pippen Jr. is with the G League team, just in case anybody cares. Let's start at the top. LeBron James, 9,900, small forward only. Anthony Davis, 10,100, center only. Both guys projected for 12% ownership. How do you want to handle those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both just sort of fine if you get there type tournament plays. Both projected to be a little bit under-owned, but difficult to get to. You still don't have a lot of value, at least right now. You do have a couple pieces on Miami that potentially look good, but there's also still just a very strong mid-range today. There's a few mid-range guys, including on this team, that are just drastically underpriced, but then also a strong mid-range where, especially if like Morant were to miss this game or Giannis were to miss this game, where, it's opening up Middleton, Portis, Drew, or it's opening up Brooks, Bane, Jackson, and it's going to make it even more difficult to get to the pay up options. But as is right now, if those guys are in, on the one hand, it makes Davis and LeBron look a little bit better because the mid-range isn't as strong, but on the other hand, you just don't really have a lot of value either. So I think it's very similar to what we've seen in a lot of other cases on these short playoff slates. Happy to get to them if I can, but more likely to be concentrated around the mid-range guys.
Who are you more likely to get to?
Probably LeBron.
Okay. I'm not really getting to either.
I'm finishing up a crunch right now, so I'll have better answers in a minute. But
okay. Yeah, I'm having trouble getting to either one of them. We'll get into why in a bit, but again, not that I would care. I'd be happy to have LeBron. I'd be happy to have AD. Like, when those names show up, they're not the problematic parts of any lineup that you see, but got to find the salary somewhere. Let's talk about the chalk play of the day here for the Lakers. 50% ownership coming into $5,800 point guard, shooting guard D'Angelo Russell. I think this is a very big talking point for this particular game. He ended up playing almost 36 minutes on Sunday. So we're coming back to game 2. How do you feel about his playing time? How do you feel about this ownership? I have some thoughts.
I don't understand why he's so cheap.
That is a true statement. Feels a little high, though, at 50%.
Kind of, I guess. But
I mean, this is a guy that's one game off of playing 24 minutes because he was dog shit and they went to Schroeder.
Yeah, but I just have a really, really hard time thinking that's going to be the norm or something that repeats itself often.
For the most part, I agree. Like, I've got 33% Russell. He is very clearly underpriced for what we're getting here. I went to 33 minutes. I don't want to go too aggressive, but like, he's very clearly the best point per dollar play on the Lakers. I have no problem saying that, but should Schroeder be 7% at 4,100 at that point? Like, can't he be a little bit more sneakier than that?
I'd be getting like 13% Schroeder, 50% Russell.
Okay. Yeah, like Russell's going in cash lineups. He's a great point per dollar play. I like it. I think there's a little bit more downside. I don't think they love him.
I mean, I don't think they love Schroeder either, or they wouldn't have Russell.
I actually do think they like Schroeder a lot, but like not as someone that they could play 33 minutes a game and be good. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Like, I think Russell looks good. 50% just feels a tad high, but I'm still getting north of 30. So I don't want it to sound like I'm just like not getting there either. To me, that would be insane. How do you feel so I guess you do like Schroeder at 7% as sort of a contrarian option in GPPs.
Yeah, in tournaments, you're not going to feel comfortable with it, but if he's only going to be 7% owned, he is pretty cheap. You can certainly get to him a bit more than the field. Like I said, I'd be getting around 13%, 4,100. You're going to get, when you think about that price range, we haven't gotten to these games yet, but you're going to get more ownership coming into Kevin Love. It looks like you're going to get more coming in to Gabe Vincent. I don't hate the idea of taking some shots at Dennis Schroeder at like 1/6 the ownership or something.
I think he's live to close if the Lakers are up by a little bit. I know it didn't really happen in game 1, but I would not be surprised at all to see Schroeder close over Russell if you need a little bit different of a look out there. If Morant is playing and looking good, they're going to be much more likely to go to Schroeder than they are to Russell in the end. So I am trying to pay close attention to that ownership. But again, I do like Russell. How do you want to handle the Rui-Jared Vanderbilt relationship? Because they're both basically 12% owned. Rui is 4,500, power forward only, has seen the minutes increase. But Jared Vanderbilt has seen the price decrease down to 3,900 now. He's played 22 and 23 minutes over the first two games. Same positional eligibility. I think Vanderbilt is very interesting as a pivot in a GPP.
I'm actually getting a lot more Vanderbilt.
Same.
Yeah, like he's $600 less expensive. It's not that I'm overly confident there, but like you said, the playing time has been decent recently. It's not like he's a bad point per minute guy. If you're going to get 22 to 24 minutes from him at 3,900, he looks like a pretty good value. And he's only pulling about 12% ownership on DraftKings. Rui pulling about 14%. So not like that's a crazy amount either, but I'm just getting to more Vanderbilt at the cheaper price tag.
Yeah, so am I. I'm a little more than 2xing him at that tag. And I'm still getting to Rui too. So I don't even feel bad about it there, because I think the goal is, we saw 26 and a half minutes out of Rui in the first play-in game. And I think that's probably like I don't want to say that it's his floor, but like that's the more realistic scenario. I don't think you want to project 29 or 30 like we got on Sunday. And at 26 minutes, I'm still happy to get to Rui. What do you want to do with everybody's new flavor of the week, Austin Reeves?
I still think he's too cheap. Minutes are typically going to be there. I'm getting around 10% on DraftKings right now, so that is a bit below the field, but he's also cheap on FanDuel. He's just played really well, and I feel confident, in him in his playing time. So at this price tag, I still like getting there.
Yeah, I'm neutral to the field here on Reeves. I don't really have much to say. The minutes are there. Like, he's just going to be out there. Great position. Is Russell that much better than Reeves?
I have him like 2-to-1's probably a little wide, but I think Russell should definitely be the more popular guy. I have Russell by like 4 points.
Same. On the dot too. So there we go. You can't play Troy Brown, right?
I don't really think so.
Can't play Malik Beasley, right?
Can't really think of a reason that you would, other than just like hoping they get really lucky.
Okay. Anything else we should really be touching on here for the Lakers?
I don't think so. I did notice something wrong in how I had sorted my lineups, but it doesn't look like it's going to make a big difference.
Did you use somebody else's projections for every single player like you've been known to do? Did you move everybody in the batting order 3 spots or something?
I didn't do that. It was just a sorting thing that because I haven't played tournaments in a while, so I just forgot I'd set something up that I didn't want.
All righty. Well, then let's go over to the Memphis side. Obviously, we've got a gigantic Q tag here that luckily for us is in the first game, so we'll know it. I wish it was like yesterday where it was the 7:00 start and the 7:30 start, so we might actually get all of the news that we needed, but who knows when we get the Giannis news, although I'm assuming Giannis is in. I have to ask the question. I know you don't have a damn clue. You think Ja's playing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think he at least tries to play. Doesn't seem like an injury that he could like re-injure. It's like soft tissue in his hand type stuff. Right. For a broken bone or something, it's one thing, but
I typically just assume that everybody's playing in the postseason until I hear that they aren't.
Yeah. Unless they're doubtful. At that point in time, I'm going with out, and then you see Giannis get bumped up to questionable.
Well, like when they said he was doubtful, I was kind of just like, I don't totally believe that, but okay. And then bumped up.
How do you want to handle $9,500 Ja Morant right now? We haven't projected for no ownership, and that's a problem.
Right. If he's not going to pull any ownership, I'm getting around like 22% right now. And that's just because of the lack of ownership. Like if he gets ruled in, that ownership number is going to come up. Maybe not all the way to where it normally would be, because we do know that he is hurt. But right now projected for 3% ownership. I mean, it would have to come up pretty drastically for me to not be interested there, just given that if he goes, I assume that he's just good to go and that he's playing some semblance of normal minutes. Played 30 minutes last game, lost the final almost 6 minutes in that game. If you're going to get 34 to 36 minutes of a very low owned $9,500 Ja Morant, I would like to be there.
Like it scares me, because I agree with you that like if he's good to go, I know that I'm going to play him, particularly at low ownership. It's also very clear he is hurt. And playing hurt in the playoffs is different than like playing hurt in the regular season. I think he's impacted by a right hand injury. I just don't know how to quantify something like that.
Agreed.
I do feel like I should be discounting him in some way, but I don't know what that is. And it feels to me that just picking something arbitrarily is also wrong.
Right. To me, it's really just that's why the ownership is so important here. Like if you're getting your full normal ownership to Morant, then I would err on the side of like this dude's playing hurt. There's a decent chance that he plays really poorly. But if that's going to be the consensus, and even if that 3% number moves to like 6 or 7%, and you're talking about a 3-game slate where nobody's playing John Morant because everybody has decided that he is too hurt to play, except for the Grizzlies and him, then I'm going to err on the side of like, yeah, maybe he's just good enough to go.
We are on the exact same page here with regards to Morant. Assuming Morant is in, worth is going to be an interesting part of this question, but is anybody else from Memphis worth playing?
Tillman showing up like 20% for me.
Ooh, okay.
Aldama's showing up like 5%, and nobody on DraftKings is showing up at all. On FanDuel, though, the pricing is pretty favorable for these Memphis guys, even with Morant in.
The guy that I'm getting to the most out of anybody else is Aldama, 4,300. That power forward eligibility helps. What's your expectation on playing time here for Tillman? It did not go well for him on Sunday.
No, I mean, low to mid 20s.
Yeah, I went 24. I think he's always going to be live to just randomly play 30. Like the day that it's working, he's just going to stay out there because why not? So that will be interesting. I have like 10% of him, but yeah, Aldama's the guy that I'm getting to right now. Ended up playing 24 minutes on Sunday. I don't know what that ends up looking like. I gave him 21 here, but mostly just a power forward eligibility thing. Looks a little bit more interesting. I don't know how you go to someone like Jaren Jackson at 9,300, no matter how good he is. That just feels like a tough price. 8,400 for Bane. Again, assuming Morant is in. They feel like, I don't even think those guys look great if Morant is out.
Right. They just kind of look fine. I mean, 8,400, they both look fine if Morant is out. But with Morant in, it's really tough. FanDuel is where I would be wanting to get to Memphis guys. Jackson's only 9K there. Bane 8,500, but you have to keep in mind that that's just relatively cheaper on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. So there you have, and Bane, shooting guard, small forward there, so he's pulling 22% ownership, 18% chance of being optimal. Jackson 31% ownership, 32% chance of being optimal, compared to DraftKings where Jackson's 6% to be optimal, Bane is 7% to be optimal. It's just so much more difficult to get to them on DraftKings for a variety of reasons.
It really is. Thoughts on Luke Kennard, 5K, shooting guard, small forward, just kind of exists, but great positionality, price is fine, unowned.
Yeah, playing time is pretty nice. I just don't love the 5K price tag. I'm not getting to him on DraftKings. He would probably look a bit better if Morant's in, just because you're going to have some extra minutes in production available that probably trickles down to him.
How do you want to, let's just say, for example, that John Morant happens to be out. The one guy that we know is going to be impacted the most is going to be Tyus Jones. He's 6,700. Is he even interesting at that point, or is he just like another guy that's on the slate?
Who did you say?
Tyus Jones.
If Morant is in or out?
If he's out. I mean, obviously, if John Morant is in, don't play Tyus Jones.
Okay, well, I didn't know if you were asking me about like the John Morant gets hurt mid-game angle or something, but
no.
Tyus Jones looks great if Morant's out, I think.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. Like over
Best
a fantasy
play on
point,
Memphis?
Probably, yeah. Over a fantasy point per minute guy playing mid-30s at least.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if he played upper 30s with Morant out.
No. I don't know. It's like, I think he's like as close to appropriately priced at that point as you're going to be. Like clearly you're getting to him at that point, but at 6,700, like is he better than so many centers above him? Gobert, Adebayo, Towns. Is he a better player than Michael Porter Jr. at 6,400? I guess he's probably a little bit better, right?
If Morant's out, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're talking probably like something in that like 20 to 25% ownership range. Then at that point, like assuming you could get a full run, and if we knew it, yeah, he's good. It'll be the best play on Memphis, that's for sure. No David Roddy, right? We can't have that conversation. It all comes down to Morant, and if Morant is in, like, are they the worst team that you can get to today?
On DraftKings.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Game time decision for Morant, so that doesn't help anything.
No, it doesn't. And as expected, he's feeling a little bit better per Taylor Jenkins. Ooh, thoughts on the Draymond suspension?
I think it's stupid.
Okay. Glad we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. I hate that shit. I wish he would have really earned it. I love that the Kings are putting Domantas Sabonis on the injury report with a Bruce Sternum. I love that petty bullshit. Like, to me, I'm here for that. But
Yeah, I just hate it. Like, let the best players play. It's the postseason.
Yeah. I hate it so much. Hate it so much. I don't want to have to cheer for Draymond, but here we are. He's so easily a villain, but he's the perfect guy to get behind once everybody doesn't want to be behind him.
Yeah, so that's kind of my thing with Draymond too, is obviously there are the characteristics that piss everyone off, but like it's cool to hate on Draymond and like pretend that he sucks at basketball and all these other things that are just completely untrue.
So yeah, I hope everybody hates him now because that just makes me love him even more. Love it. I got nothing else for Memphis.
Me neither.
Schedule for the rest of the night. It's not just basketball, folks, but we do have NBA Live Before Lock coming up at 6:30. Then we have you guys hitting the like button, running that number up over 200. That will help us out a ton. But we've got PGA Live Before Lock coming up at 8 p.m. So you got a lot going on here. NBA, we got Lindy's Locks coming out at 9 o'clock, evidently, per the content schedule that is on the screen right now. Thank you to Jordan for that one. But we're not stopping there. I told you guys, we've got PGA Live Before Lock tonight. We also have the PGA lineup generator. I talk about the NBA lineup generator all the time, but we have one for PGA. It's $8.95 for a week. We generate thousands of lineups on the back end. We get rid of the ones that we don't think are any good, and we present the rest to you. This is great for more casual players that are looking to save some time. You could export up to 20 via CSV. You could lock golfers. You could swap golfers. You can generate chalky builds, contrarian builds, balance builds. You'll see top 6 percentage and leverage scores, projections, and ownership. It's a fantastic tool. So make sure you're watching PGA Live Before Lock tonight, and make sure you're signing up for the PGA lineup generator. $8.95 for the first week. We're going to game number 2. Miami Heat in Milwaukee. Line up to 8.5, 220 total. Miami, unfortunately, no Tyler Hero, out with the broken hand. So we got to talk about that piece for right now. Kyle Lowry is playing today. So we do have that information, or evidently is playing. So let's start at the top. We don't have the third guy in the trio of heavily owned people for Miami today. 50% ownership coming into Jimmy Butler, 50% ownership coming into Bam Adebayo. Who do you prefer?
I'm getting about twice as much Bam as I am Butler.
Yeah, I have a pretty comparable amount to you. Still getting the Butler, but I have more Bam than Butler right now. Talk to me about the two guys.
Yeah, if the slate started right now, I'd have about 35% Butler, about 78% Bam. So I think it's just the cheaper, you're saving $1,500 getting to Bam. Both of these guys do look a bit better without Hero. It's not the same level of impact as like if Jimmy Butler is out and Bam Adebayo, looks a lot better. But there is still obviously more playmaking to go around, more offense to go around. Neither of Gabe Vincent or Kyle Lowry are going to be soaking up all of the Tyler Hero usage or playmaking. Same goes for, Duncan Robinson, Strus, Martin, whoever steps into those minutes. So there is more to like for Adebayo and Butler. And on top of that, they are relatively inexpensive, especially Adebayo at 7,400, Butler 8,900 is a decent price tag, but still wouldn't say he's overpriced there. On FanDuel, he's 10K, but FanDuel's just, different in terms of roster construction. So he's still extremely popular. Bam's 8,400 there. So I would say I probably like Butler more on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings, and vice versa for Bam.
I don't have much else to say here. I have a pretty big stand on Bam without Hero here. I'm getting to enough Butler that it won't hurt me the same way that it normally does. Who starts?
So who knows? They went Duncan Robinson last game, but he also then played 6 minutes and never came back except for 16 seconds at the end of the third quarter. Started the second half, rather, when Hero was out. I don't know if they go to Robinson, just sort of as like a placeholder there so that you can keep Caleb Martin coming off the bench. Caleb Martin would make some sense. I assume they're not going to want to run Lowry and Vincent together all that much.
Yeah. It feels like Caleb Martin is the easiest answer to this question.
It's just, I think it's just a matter of like, how do they want the rotations to go? Because we already know that Caleb Martin frequently closes when he comes off the bench. We saw that last game also. So is it going to just be like, oh, they're going to start Robinson, he's going to play like 12 to 16 minutes, and they're going to be able to, still get Caleb Martin 28 minutes or so, or whatever it may be, but, just at the end of the halves instead of the beginning.
My expectation is that Duncan Robinson is essentially going to end up being Max Strus's backup and play like 12 minutes. We'll see. If he starts, he might play 12 minutes. 6-6 first quarter, third quarter, and they
Right.
tell him to go pound sand. Who
Like,
knows?
even if he starts, I don't think he's playing a lot of minutes.
Neither do I. Interesting at 3,100, if he wasn't a power forward only, morons. Absolute morons. We got to talk about the most interesting piece of this to me. I don't get it. 44% ownership going to $4,100 Kevin Love, power forward center eligible. Played 22 and a half minutes on Sunday. Talk to me here. What am I missing?
Apparently that he played 22 and a half minutes on Sunday. I mean, it's
I'm
just
aware.
It's just a lack of value on the slate, and I'm not comfortable with it. I'm very curious to see if his playing time is impacted by Giannis. You know, like if Giannis is out, I think you can pretty comfortably assume you're getting similar playing time to what you got last game. But
Yes.
we don't know what this looks like, what Spoelstra's rotations look like if he's in. Like, pretty much all of Love's minutes, not all of them. He did sub in with Giannis in, but you know, the bulk of that game was played without Giannis. So we don't know exactly how these rotations go. At 4,100, I still think even if Giannis is in, Love is playable because if he plays 20 minutes again, he's a good value. But it just becomes riskier because you don't know exactly what those rotations are going to look like. If the slate started right now, I'd be getting like 24, 25%. So I'd have a good amount. I wouldn't be particularly close to where the field is projected to be.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'm lighter than that. I don't really know where the minutes come from. Like, we saw him and Bam play 55 minutes combined. So we're talking like, whatever, 7 minutes alongside of each other, something along those lines. So right there, if you're assuming Bam is playing 38 today, which I think is a pretty realistic scenario with no hero, you know, there's 17 minutes right there. 10 from the backup, another 7 at power forward. You want to give him a couple extra, that's fine. I gave him 19. I don't necessarily know where the playing time's coming from. And if Bam is in, or sorry, if Giannis is in, I just don't know how Kevin Love, like, I don't expect him to be the guy they want out there. I think it's going to go really poorly for him.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point about Bam, it's a really good point because if you look at the first half, Love got an extra 6 minute and 13-second rotation because Bam picked up his second foul and Spoelstra put him back on the bench until there was a minute 31 left in the half. So if you just say, okay, those minutes go to Bam in a normal game, then you're talking about 6.5 first half minutes for Kevin Love. He then played about like 9 second half minutes. So you're talking like 15, 16 minutes. Like, there is a lot of downside risk on Kevin Love here for sure.
Yeah. If Giannis is in, I would prefer to have 0 Kevin Love because I don't think they want to have him out there in a playoff scenario. When you don't have Giannis out there, you can do whatever the hell you want. Like, you can start to have significantly worse defensive players in there. Otherwise, I have a sneaky suspicion that Kevin Love is going to end up in every single pick and roll, and he's going to get absolutely bludgeoned in all ways. So I don't love that ownership. I also think it's a little high just in general. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see that be 34 when we come in. But even then, I don't love it. I think that we have a couple options that we can get to that aren't there. But if you just think through the minutes, you need to be expecting him to play a lot alongside Bam for 44% to make sense.
Yeah, agreed. And like, again, I think that Bam, the second quarter minutes to Love is what really concerns me because if you just got that second half rotation where he plays 9-ish minutes, you know, then that was a pretty normal half for Bam. He played 8 minutes and 19 seconds in the third, or 8.5 minutes in the third, played 10 minutes in the fourth. That's a pretty normal Bam rotation. And Kevin Love played about 9. So you're getting like 18 if you extend that. The first half rotation, you know, a little concerning, but Tyler Hero was in the first half. So yeah, I think expecting like 18 to 20-ish makes sense. It's just that, like, it could go sideways and he's really popular.
Yeah. Like, if the ownership wasn't there, if he was 20% owned, I'd be like, yeah, you know, that seems about right for Kevin Love. I think there's a path, you know, you never know what you're going to get. But if it's already there, that, to me, that's nuts. Like, I see 56% ownership coming into Gabe Vincent at 4,200. And it's just, like, I know they're not comparable per minute guys, but when you look at that, you're like, okay, Gabe Vincent should be owned like that now that Hero's out.
Yeah, I mean, if the slate started right now, I'd have 88% Vincent on DraftKings to my 25% Love.
Right.
We don't talk about it very often, but I'm curious to get your thoughts. What would your general approach be to Kevin Love in cash games? Like, in tournaments, you get more reward for saying like, all right, I think the field's over projecting Kevin Love. I could put myself in a really good, really advantageous situation if I'm right. In cash, it's kind of skewed the opposite way.
It is. My assumption is that he wouldn't end up in my optimal lineup or my cash lineup. Let me run it quick just to see what I have.
So on DraftKings, I
wouldn't feel good about that.
In my top 10 projected lineups, he is in the highest projected, but he is only in 3 of the 10.
All right, I ran 10. He's not in any of them. I assume I do have a lower projection than the industry does if he's projected for 44% ownership. So I'm not exactly surprised by that. My optimal is Vincent, Russell, Butler, Vanderbilt, Lopez, Murray, Gordon, Bam. I'd be very happy to run that one out there and not have Kevin Love. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I'd
rather have Vanderbilt than Love, but there's obviously an ownership discrepancy there.
Right, and I don't think that they're that different either.
I don't think they're different at all.
Right.
I expect Jared Vanderbilt to play more minutes than Kevin Love at the same rate.
Wait, so
we're talking like 21 to 19 type minutes. Okay, so sure. I don't mean and Vanderbilt's, projected by 9 points higher, but at the very least, to me, they're equal. And I don't even think that they're necessarily equal. Yet one of these guys and that's part of the reason I have 35% Vanderbilt in GPPs and I have basically no Love. Those guys should be pivoted in large field contests if that's how they're projected.
Yeah, agreed with that. So I just built my top 100 projected DraftKings lineups. Love showed up in exactly 50 of them. And that's with a 20.5-minute projection.
Okay.
So you could certainly, I think you could certainly lower that, but I also don't think it's an egregious, I went back and checked. It's not like I had him at 24 minutes or something.
Very, very interesting stuff here.
I almost think you could kind of, even within cash games, approach Kevin Love based on what format you're playing. If he's going to be 70-something% owned in 50-50s,
yeah,
I don't know how many minutes the dude's going to play. Do I really want to take a stand there? But in your 5, 10-man, 20-man contests, if he's going to be 60% owned in those, there's at least reward for doing something else.
Love scores. I 100% disagree with Josh. I don't even know what that means. Love scores what?
I think we're getting back to the same issue people in chat had with Vanderbilt, is that he's not a big part of the offense. They don't like how he gets fantasy points.
Gotcha. Kevin Love certainly doesn't score for Miami or anybody at this point because he's old and shitty.
Yeah, so since Kevin Love joined Miami in games with Jimmy Butler and with Bam Adebayo. If I could spell season, that would make it work better. 0.93 DraftKings points per minute, 18.5% usage rate.
Crazy.
Jared Vanderbilt. Is it 2 R's? Do you know?
In Jared?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 R's.
It's not always. So
it's fair.
0.85 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played with LeBron and with Davis.
Pretty comparable.
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
11.5% usage rate. So they are right. He does shoot less and score less, but also dunking a lot. So higher, being more efficient. But fantasy points are fantasy points.
DF said if Giannis doesn't guard Jimmy, bet the house on another track meet. He's not guarding Jimmy. So don't worry about that. Go to Milwaukee. Giannis was a Q tag earlier, or a doubtful tag earlier today. So we talked about this very differently. I had 80% Drew Holiday and 80% Bobby Portis, and this was very different. Now the slate is quite different. Drew's 15% owned, Middleton's 20%. Bobby Portis is still 30. Bobby Portis is down to 9. We still have Brook Lopez at 30. I agree. I think Brook Lopez looks like the best play that you can get to from Milwaukee, unless you can find the salary for Giannis.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. This is another team that I don't think looks that good if Giannis is in, but Lopez probably does look the best at 6,200. Center is not, it's better today than it was yesterday, but you still, with it being a 3-game slate, just don't have as much opportunity cost. So I think Lopez looks pretty good. I do think he's going a little bit overowned though. For me personally, exposure wise, if tournament started right now, I'd only have around like 5%. We have him with an 11% chance of being optimal at 30% owned. So he's just not going to show up for me that much. But I do think that he's probably the most favorable price tag on this team.
We are on the same page there.
The only guy, if the slate started right now, the only guy I'm getting from Milwaukee over like 5% is Giannis. And that is for very similar reasons to John Morant. Right now, he's projected for 5% ownership because he's questionable. And because that's the ownership number I used, it's just pushing him up.
Yeah. I'm still getting to like 15% Drew, same as the public. I'm getting to about 10% of Middleton, about 15 of Grayson Allen. Not really getting to Portis. 5,700 is just not a great price tag for him now if Giannis is going to be back in. Brook Lopez is the guy that I have the most of. I'm close to 50% of my lineups have Brook Lopez right now, 6,200. I don't like having the chalk Brook Lopez, but I'll take what I can get, I guess. I don't mind it. That's for sure. Like, he's going to be out there barring any aggressive foul trouble. Do you want to get to anything at the bottom here for Milwaukee? Whether that's Portis, Ingles, Crowder, Javon Carter. Is there anything here?
Not if Giannis is in. Like I said, Lopez showing up 5% for me right now. Allen 2, Middleton 1, Portis 1, nothing else. Like, I don't think this team looks very good if Giannis plays. If you wanted to roll the dice on like a $3,700 Ingles, that would be fine, I guess. 8% owned or 9% owned, 13% chance of being optimal. But I don't really like much of anything from this team. And the only spot that I actually do find interesting, other than excluding Giannis, the only price tag I like is just projected to go so over-owned that I'm having trouble getting to him too.
I understand. Avi hit us with the super chat. Vincent or Strus on FanDuel?
Vincent or Strus?
That's Strus for me.
The hell is Vincent?
But it's close.
Yeah. So same price. Yeah, we have Strus by about a point at similar ownership. Probably better positional eligibility since he's small forward. So I think I would lean Strus.
Okay. Yeah, it's so crazy how this slate looks now. Like, I had 80% of Drew and Bobby Portis on the strategy show this morning, and now it's just like, yeah, those are guys that you can have, I guess.
We didn't talk about it specifically. Do you have any interest in Lowry?
I'm a little nervous about him. I mean, like, the Q tag certainly wasn't ideal. It's obviously gone now. 18 and a half minutes today, 19.8 minutes from Friday's game. Like, does he just not have it in the tank? Did he give it all in that first game of the play-in or something?
That's my concern. On the one hand, it's really interesting that he's 3% owned with no Tyler Hero at 5,100. Like,
yeah,
if he plays 32 minutes, we're just talking about the same guy we were talking about a week ago, where he was like the best play on the slate at 4,200. But it is concerning that, even in that last game, you got an entire half where Tyler Hero was out and Kyle Lowry played like 9 minutes. Just shy of 9 minutes. So I do think he's really risky. I would have like 3 or 4% if the slate started right now.
Same.
It strikes me as one of those spots that you look at and you're just like, man, this could break a way that makes me feel really stupid for not having a lot more than 3%.
Yeah, I gave him 26 minutes, but like, would I be surprised at all if Victor Oladipo doesn't play? He gets those extra couple minutes that I have projected, and like, he closes somehow, plays 30 and is a decent enough value. Like, no, not at all. But right. I'm concerned about the minutes over the last 2 games. I just don't know what to do with him.
Yeah. And speaking of that, because it keeps coming up in chat, I don't really expect Oladipo to do anything today. No. They had an entire half last game where Tyler Hero was out. Oladipo still didn't leave the bench. Oladipo is very, very difficult to put on the floor with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and they are sure as shit not taking either of those guys off the floor for Victor Oladipo. No. If he were to start, then I think he becomes interesting, because that would be a signal that Spoelstra is at least willing to give it a try, putting him out there with those guys. But if he's not starting, I have a very difficult time thinking he's doing anything, whether, he DNPs or whether he plays like 8 minutes, whatever it may be. Because if he doesn't start and they go to like Duncan Robinson or they go to Caleb Martin, to me, that would be in line with what they typically do. And that is keep Oladipo the hell away from Jimmy Butler, which, if Butler's going to play 40 minutes, doesn't leave you with much.
Yeah, I gave him 5 minutes. I think he might get out there for a rotation when Love is in at center, and that's just about it. I mean, like, he's not going to show up in anything that I do. So,
right.
You good on Milwaukee?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk through that, because like, I get like Oladipo is a very reasonable like first thought of, well, Hero's minutes are gone and Oladipo's, a guard that can score fantasy points, but he's such a terrible fit with Butler and Bam. And then combined with like, we just saw a half where they did not need to use him at all. And in that half, Kyle Lowry only played 9 minutes. So it's not like Kyle Lowry played like the entire half and you're like, yeah, well, he's not going to do that today. Like Lowry could easily play more minutes. Robinson could easily play more minutes than he did in that second half. So you can see from the rotations in the last game that there's no reason they have to go to Oladipo. And from a fit standpoint, he doesn't fit. So if he starts, probably a good sign for his minutes. If he starts, I'd expect that he is starting the game, but not closing and playing like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. But if he's coming off the bench, I wouldn't try.
Yeah, we got to remember that he's 30 years old. He's about to be 31, and he hasn't been good in 5 years. He's awful. And he's
also a reason for him not being good. Like it was injury.
He's about to be out of the league. He's not like there's no career for him after this. He's donezo. So don't think that you're getting anything worth a shit because you're not. Avi with another super chat. Does Conchar see minutes if Morant is out? Maybe, but not enough to play.
Why the hell is Gabe popular if Lowry's playing full no restriction? Lowry played full no restriction last game. He played 18 minutes.
Yeah, and Gabe Vincent played 33.
Yeah, with foul trouble.
Yeah. Alrighty. We got to talk about the sponsor, Prize Picks, in the house. Prize Picks video got put out last night.
Which is a crazy
today.
Athlete. He has one Achilles.
Yeah, he was a crazy athlete.
Yeah.
Just missed my Prize Picks 3 of 3 yesterday. Trae Young missed it by less than 2 fantasy points. So needed one more bucket to go 3 for 3. Couldn't get it done. Still profited yesterday. We'll take what we can get. You guys should sign up at Prize Picks. 1 month free of Stochastic Plus Platinum if you click the link in the description. And you can get up to a $100 deposit match bonus when you do it. There's no sharks, optimizers. You're taking props. Put together 5-on-1 card. You'll net up to 10x your entry fee. You could do 6. You'll get up to 25x. But you'll still get money back, even if you don't go perfect. If you get 4 out of 5, you're still 2xing. If you get 3 out of 5, you get a little bit back. You're still down, but it's not all of it. So it's a great mechanism. I got my picks in for today. I'm going to hit you with what I had on my video. How's that? I don't even know if these lines still exist. So we'll see if anything has moved my way. These are the 3 plays that I put in my Prize Picks video this morning. Call it 9 a.m. Are you ready?
Yep.
Remember, this is FanDuel scoring. So it's 3 points for blocks, 3 points for steals. You lose a point for turnovers. How do you feel about Bam Adebayo over under 39.5 fantasy points?
Over.
I have the over as well. It is still at 39.5, but I liked that one quite a bit. Next one. Max Strus over under 20.5 fantasy points.
Over.
I agree. Do you prefer either one of those more than the others?
I mean, I prefer Bam by a little bit just because I see less ways they screw with his minutes.
And finally, third one. Now, unfortunately for me, this one did not break my way, but I'm curious to see where you go now. Drew Holiday was looking real tasty as a points prop this morning when it was 20.5. That was just regular points. Real straight up points.
Still looks really good.
That line is down to 18.5 now. How do you feel about over under 18.5 points for Drew Holiday?
Slight under.
Yeah.
Over if Giannis sits.
I have the over. And it felt great with the Giannis doubtful tag earlier. Unfortunately for me, didn't shake out that way. So we need to get a little bit lucky. Oladipo will be out of it's optimal prime, thinking he's smart and isn't. So why are people what is the fascination with advocating for the 300th best player in the NBA? Like I'm evaluating that one incorrectly. He doesn't play right now for the Miami Heat in the playoffs.
Depot still balls out when given. Dude, it's terrible.
He doesn't ball out. If he balled out, he'd play for the Heat right now. Right now, he'd be in their playoff rotation.
Yeah, like the team that's playing Gabe Vincent a bunch of minutes and the corpse of Kyle Lowry would probably be playing a balling out Victor Oladipo.
They went to Duncan Robinson first yesterday, or 2 days ago. He's making he's going to be gone. He's going to accept this player option for next year. So he won't be out of the league because he's got a $9 million player option from the Heat for next year. So he's going to take that bag. He's never getting that again. What are we talking? He balls out. If he balled out, he'd play for the Heat. I'm sure they'd love to have a guy that they could put in the damn rotation. They don't have that. This dude hasn't been good since Indiana. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 8.5-point dogs. By the way, shout out to Prize Picks. Thanks for sponsoring. Minnesota Timberwolves, 8.5-point dogs in Denver, 222 total. Minnesota, interesting spot. Obviously, no Jaden McDaniels. Q-tag on Noel, Q-tag on Gobert. I think everybody's just treating it like they're in. 35 to 45% ownership coming into Edwards, Towns, and Conley. Who do you like the most of that trio?
I mean, I like all three. If the slate started right now, I'd be getting to Conley by a slight margin. 47% Conley, 45 Towns, 27 Edwards.
Edwards is my biggest guy, then Conley, Towns last. Don't like that. Makes me sick to see a $7,500 price tag on Towns and just not immediately have him in 100% of my lineups, but he's like an uninteresting guy on a per minute basis, and you just wouldn't think it. He's good, but when you see Towns, you just assume that number is 1.3, 1.35, and he's just not that dude. It sucks. I hate this Minnesota team.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a lot more scoring dependent also, since his return, and not great at that.
No. You going to get to a lot of the top of Minnesota here?
Towns and Conley.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of Edwards right now, but I'll certainly have him.
26 total games for Towns this year with Gobert and Edwards, 1.2 DraftKings points per minute, 25% usage rate, 22% assist percentage. But that's prior to the injury as well. If you go last 30 days,
1.19 is what I have, but I don't know.
1.22 still, 26.5% usage rate. So that's up a little bit. Assist percentage is down a little bit. Still productive, just not, the same Karl Anthony Towns, but he's also not priced the same.
Mitchell Welsh thinks that Oladipo is 100% better than Vincent. Somebody needs to let Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra know.
Yeah. Those are two guys that I typically don't think need much help with figuring out who they should play.
Top 3 respected front office head coach combo in the league. And we're just they're probably fucking that up. It's incredible. Crazy. $6,900 Gobert. I want to get away from this one as fast as possible. I actually might cut his minutes projection just so I don't get the 6% that I have, but I do not like Gobert here.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not really getting too much of him. He's showing up, 1%. So I'm perfectly fine with that.
Works for me. Any chance they move Kyle Anderson back to the starting lineup? How do you want to handle this relationship between Kyle Anderson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Walker, by the way, who's been starting, is 16% owned, which is slightly less than Kevin Love.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with that because it was weird to me when they started Alexander Walker based on just how well Kyle Anderson's played this year. In that particular matchup, they talked about wanting him to pick up SGA for full court and all of that. Then they stuck with him, but you still got more minutes for Anderson. You also got blown out. So wouldn't surprise me if you get Anderson back in the starting lineup. Wouldn't surprise me if you stick with Alexander Walker either. I certainly expect Anderson to be in the closing lineup.
Same. How do you feel about the relationship of ownership there? 15% going to both guys. How does that look to you from a Minnesota standpoint and just for the slate in general?
I'm not getting to much of either, but I prefer getting to Anderson just because he's a better fantasy producer. Obviously, he's also more expensive, but it's just hard to see a lot of ways in this spot that Alexander Walker plays a ton of minutes. It's a lot easier to see a situation where even if Alexander starts, Anderson replaces him at halftime or just, plays the massive bulk of the minutes. I'm actually getting into more Taurean Prince than either of them.
Talk to me.
He's 1% owned and played the same minutes as Alexander Walker last game.
Yeah, I gave him 22 minutes. I'm not getting to any. I do not have him projected well at all. given the rates that he's had with some of these guys. I wouldn't mind getting to him.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't think he's like a great player or anything. It's just like I think pretty much all of these guys are pretty much all of these like 4K-ish guys that we're talking about are bad plays that you kind of just have to live with some of them because of it being a short slate. And if Prince is going to be the one that nobody plays, that makes him interesting.
Back-to-back people, Double R and Jason. Prince will start. Is there any reason you would be expecting that? Because I don't have that in my head.
I mean, no. Like it could, I guess, but like I guess the case for him starting would be they don't want to go back to Alexander Walker and they still want Anderson running with the second unit, but
yeah,
that seems less likely than either Alexander Walker or Anderson.
Prince starting today, he had the starter vest on in practice.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. What would you do to his projection if he's starting? Like 2 more minutes?
Like 26, 28.
Ooh, you would go that way then. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I have Nickeil Alexander-Walker in for 26, I would have to go to Prince for 26 in that spot. I mean, like, that's obviously not something that I'm going to make a change for, but okay, that is interesting. Something to think about. So then that would be a situation where you would not want to be getting to Nickeil Alexander-Walker at that point, right? Like you're not, other than just being a pivot, he's probably going to come in over-owned, assuming we don't know that information till late.
Yeah, I mean, if that ends up being how this plays out, you're just naturally going to get Prince at too low of ownership and Alexander Walker at too high because everybody's just, or most people are just going to assume that it's the same lineup as the previous game.
Okay. Very interesting. Something to look into, that's for sure. Any Jalen Noel for you, 3,300?
Probably not. Like he got 22 minutes last game, but a lot of that was garbage time. You're looking at 10, 11, 12 minutes in terms of actual rotation time. Even that was kind of weird. Like he didn't play at all in the first half until the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. Then he finished the half. That's typically not going to happen. I think it's a pretty tough sell.
All righty. Well, let's close this out then.
And I
Denver
just
Nuggets.
found the tweets about Prince being in the starter jersey.
Okay. Thoughts? Any additional context or anything like that? Like,
I mean, if he starts at 4K and is going to be low.
Oh, I didn't know if there was like information in the tweets. Like, did it say anything like, "Oh, Prince is running with the starters now" or anything like that, or is it just like people using that as a guidepost?
No, I mean, so the first tweet that shows up is some guy with 2,000 followers that covers the Twins for some site. Just said, it just disappeared. Looks like Alexander Walker back to the bench. Expecting Prince to start. That was his take, not Finch saying that, but
yeah. Interesting to see, at least. Let's get to Denver. Very easy to talk about. This is not a team that deviates too much, so we should be able to zip through them pretty quickly. Q tag on Jokic. I think we all assume that he is playing here. 25% ownership going to Murray, KCP, and Aaron Gordon. 15% ownership coming into Jokic, who I find very difficult to get to, although obviously I'd be happy to do so. Who do you want to get to the most here for Denver? Because I've got a pretty big stand on this team.
Yeah, I was getting or am getting to a lot of them as well. Aaron Gordon showing up a ton for me. KCP, Murray, Jokic, Porter, all between 20 and 40% as well. Then a bunch of garbage. But I really like Denver. On DraftKings, they're one of the teams that looks really good to me, especially if Giannis and Morant are in. We kind of just have two teams on DraftKings that we're mostly throwing away. Denver is a team that is getting some ownership, but also looks to be going a little bit under-owned in several spots. Jokic, Murray, Gordon, all projected to be at least somewhat under-owned on DraftKings. Porter's ownership is projected to be correct. KCP's is projected to be correct. Brown's is projected to be correct. So you don't have any of these guys projected to be over-owned. You have several going under-owned. Makes them look like good tournament options.
Could you imagine saying playoff Kev is different about Kevin Love?
We're still talking about that?
Apparently. Kevin Love, before he got in the game on Sunday, had not played in the playoffs since the finals in 2018 with the Cavs. 5 years it's been since Kevin Love played in the playoffs. At that point in time, Kevin Love was 29 years old. He is 34 now, but he has not played a playoff game before Sunday since 2018. Playoff Kev is different. Is he different forever? Like when he's 65 years old, is he still playoff Kev if they want to roll his ass out there? Good God. Oh, yeah. Can we talk about that too? Your bullshit $5 head-to-head?
I mean,
you want to air that out?
It's whatever. It is what it is. It was an annoying waste of time, but other than that.
Unbelievable. All that chirping over sending a head-to-head like Adam's dodging a $5 head-to-head. Comical at best. Comical. All right. Can we get to Jokic other than him being Jokic? Like, is he the worst option?
I'm still getting over the field. He's still projected to go a little bit under-owned. Part of that, I think, is that Prince's 1% ownership projection and showing up in a bunch of my lineups makes it so I can afford him a little bit easier. Using Vanderbilt, letting me do it. So at 14%, I like getting there. I'm kind of surprised that I am getting so much of Jokic, Giannis, and Morant right now. On Morant and Giannis, it's pretty easy to explain because it's a function of them being questionable still and being projected for probably like half the ownership they'll actually end up at if they play. But for Jokic, I don't think a 14.5% ownership projection is because of the Q tag. I think he's just expected to play by everybody, and that's his actual ownership projection. So it's still just getting raw points at 15% owned. It does probably help too that somebody like D'Angelo Russell's 5,800. You do have the Vincent value as well. Love, if you're going there. So it is a little bit easier than it has been to get to these guys, even if Morant and Giannis play.
I think I'm going to have a ton of this Denver team. Murray, KCP, Aaron Gordon, 17% owned Michael Porter at a small forward position that's hard to fill. I don't have much Bruce Brown, but he's also pulling some ownership. Just sum up Denver before we get out of here.
So just getting to a lot in general. Getting around, like, if the slate started right now, around like 64% Gordon, getting over the field on Murray, getting over on KCP, getting over on Jokic, getting slightly over on Porter. Have a typo on Bruce Brown, so I need to see how much of him I was getting.
John Morant out.
All right, slate is totally different. Good show.
All right, NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. They can deal with the John Morant news. Prize Picks is the sponsor. Thank you to Prize Picks for helping us out there. It's exciting that we got that news right now. Enjoy breaking that one down with Live Before Lock, everybody. Don't go anywhere. Hit that like button. We're out of here. Peace. Well, fuck.
Yo, you know what time it is. It's that time of week again. Yeah, Stochastic Hall of Fame time. Giving out some free months of Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 action there to a lot of you today. And getting you inducted into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. What's better than that? See your name up there in bright lights. Also get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. You're trying to get your name up here, trying to get the month. All you got to do is go to stochastic.com/avatar. Download that profile picture right there, stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at StochasticHOF, Stochastic Hall of Fame, with a screenshot. Maybe you want to say something nice too. You don't have to, but if you want to, that's cool as well. And get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we'll do it each and every week. Let's get it started. Now, a man who he's with us here at Stochastic. We got to shout out our own guy here, Steve Buzzard, because what a monster week we saw from Steve, using and repping the Stochastic MLB tools. Pumped MLB is back, and this is the Colts, by the way. 2 tips to win all the money this year. 1, the MLB tools from Stochastic are hands down the best in the industry. 2, always be sure to make at least one lineup stacking the Dodgers. That's the first 100K from Steve. Then we got 3 days in a row from Steve, 50K. Mixed in there was another 100K, and I believe a live finals qualifier ticket as well. Shout out to Steve, absolutely repping Stochastic in a huge way over the early stages of the MLB season. And Dave as well with the Stochastic Avatar. Second place in the four-seamer. Love the top stacks tool. Hell yeah, man. Glad to see it work for you. $2,500. Second place for Dave. Followed up by Calvin. Use the Masters promotion to give the PGA lineup generator a try. Yeah, first week, $4.48. Can't beat it. Help me get one birdie away from taking it all. Had the old avatar, just updated to the new one. Hopefully I can still get my free money. Yeah, we got you, man. We got you. Thank you guys for all the insightful content. Congrats, dude. That's awesome to see. Using the brand new PGA lineup generator. And Lisa, been a good start to the MLB season. Thanks to Stochastic, plus a bonus of the free month. Yeah, Jujubee, you've been up here before. $500. First place in the mini max all day. We'll take that. And Dave, another Dave Oliver. Thank you guys for your awesome MLB content. Well, thanks for using it. Thanks for watching us, Dave. Third, fourth, and fifth place in the Monday MLB pinch hit. Rocking another Stochastic avatar, but still Stochastic nonetheless. Get the one that says it, though, man. It looks better. XFL expert El Cuatro Loco took down the quarter jukebox last night thanks to hashtag Fade Cores and the Cubs going off in a shootout last night. Yeah, first place in the jukebox for El Cuatro Loco. Nice little $166 win there. Followed up by Andrew. Nice to get in the Stochastic Hall of Fame early into the baseball season. Best tools in the business, especially for baseball. Yeah, shout out to you, Andrew. First place quarter juke. Dude, our guys just crushed the quarter jukebox every single week. Travis Scott, I'm not rocking the avatar, so I don't expect a free month. That's all right. If you could give me a shout out, that'd be greatly appreciated. Ship the mini max, like I said, quarter jukebox, mini max. Turn the cool 75 into 1500. Congrats, man. Get that avatar up there. You don't want me to have to start talking bad about your Raptors who couldn't make it through the play-ins, man. I remember you. I remember what you said about the Sixers every single year, particularly last year when they, of course, beat the Raptors. But shout out to Travis. We like Travis here. Congrats on the $1,500 win. And Jorge, our guy, the giver of gifts in all YouTube chats. Amazing projections and right on the spot. Finally, your Phillies, Lofty. Help me out. Shout out for today's show and tips from EMAC and Digital and Terry McBride. Help getting the same lineup second and fourth in the mini-max today. Thanks to Stochastic for amazing tools. That's awesome, Jorge. You were up here last week, I think, too. What's that? $1,320-some, second and fourth place. Beautiful stuff. And then you've got Colin. We got a lot today. Told you. Shout out to Petty Theft. Yeah, friend of the show. We like Petty Theft here, too. And Neil Orfield for being goats at what they do individually. Thanks as well to Stochastic HOF. $800. First place in the end one. The Ultimate Fight Show. Shout out to my peeps, Stochastic.com, for all their insight. Went off their recommendations, but had a few specific plays that hit. Keep up the great work. Yeah, okay. Some monster parlay wins, 25 in the almost 1,900. And don't forget our Bet Pro Tool, Odd Shopper. All that's free for the first week. You got links in the description, guys, if you want to check those out. And Ryan finished second out of 55K in the 25-cent contest last night. Great tools led to a nice bankroll booster for a small stakes player like me. Hell yeah, dude. $250 on the quarter pinch hit. We'll take it. And finally, Cohen. I was a Wiggins 3 away from taking down my first tournament. Shout out to the Live Before Lock crew. Always dropping knowledge. End one, $400, third place. Shout out to all you guys. Download the avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. We'll welcome you back if you've been here before as well. And get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum.
All right.
What is happening, everybody? And it's time for another NBA Live Before Lock. And, usually at this time of the year, when myself and the flannel god Neil Orfield, we've been breaking down these playoff slates, we don't have to worry too much about injuries. It's usually not a concern. Not the case today. So shortly before we started, Ja Morant was ruled out. So the guys on the show before, if I'm not mistaken, Morant got ruled out just as they were finishing the show. So they probably didn't really get a chance to talk about that very much. But in addition, we've got Giannis listed as questionable. There's other players on the injury report that I'm not really going to take seriously. Like Jokic is listed as questionable, but he's already said he's going to play. But the ones that I am taking seriously is obviously Morant because he's already been ruled out. Gobert's questionable. I don't take that seriously. But the Giannis one, I think, is a legitimate concern. He was doubtful early in the day, upgraded to questionable. Morant just ruled out, so we're going to be breaking that down in a second. Shout out to Prize Picks, who are sponsoring our show today. But Neil, how's your day going?
It's going well so far. So I did the early show with Adam. I had a dentist appointment in the middle of the day, and then I woke up to a message saying that the dental hygienist I was supposed to see was ill. So that got canceled. So it felt like like school being canceled. I didn't have anything to do in the middle of the day. That was beautiful. Other
than your tooth is still broken.
My tooth is, of course, still broken. And then I got to listen to the wild NBA strategy show with Lofty and Josh from this morning. Ran it back with the deeper dive a little bit. Just fun day.
So right away, though, we've got this news. It broke right at the top. And, I was kind of thinking we were going to be going through the show and not knowing who was in, who was out. And to an extent, we don't know the Giannis situation, but Morant has officially been ruled out. So the hand is clearly a big issue here. And we could start breaking down some of that because this is really fresh news. So, by the way, if you guys haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have super chats, throw those in. You got questions for us in the Discord channel. @me will be answering them. But right off the bat, I think we have to start with the Memphis Grizzlies. And Neil, your immediate reaction, how do you feel about Ja Morant not playing? And who are we looking at for DFS now?
I mean, Tyus Jones just immediately looks really good. I wasn't sure exactly how we project him with Ja. We've got Tyus in for we have him for 37 fantasy points or so at 6,700. That's on a slate that doesn't have much value. I just ran a crunch and I got to 69%. Pretty nice. Tyus Jones without Ja Morant in there, without adjusting his projection or anything like that. So Tyus got a little bit of a boost. I got a little bit more Xavier Tillman. I don't know if that's a result of this move. Maybe we expect him to see more minutes with the shorter rotation. I haven't checked the change logs in the projections, but immediately Ja becomes, I'd say, one of the best point guard plays on the entire slate, if not the best.
And where did Tyus Jones go to high school?
He went to Apple Valley High School. He and also Trey Jones went to Apple Valley High School, which, if you didn't know, that's also where I went to high school.
Yeah, no,
around the same time.
It comes up from time to time. I wanted to make sure that the information there was related to
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. No, I always got to make sure that we are on top of that. One thing that's kind of nice is I'm looking through everything right now. DraftKings has at least priced these Memphis players up for the absence of, by the way, both sites have. DraftKings and FanDuel have both priced these have priced the Memphis Grizzlies for the absence of Ja Morant. So it's not like we have a $3,800 Tyus Jones who just breaks the slate and becomes a must play. It's not like we have a $6,000 Jaren Jackson Jr. or anything like that. The players have kind of been priced for the potential absence of him. So it's not like we need to say that these players can't miss 100% locks, but they are clearly some of the top value plays on the slate. So as we walk through the Memphis players, who would you say right now is the highest priority on the team now that we have Ja confirmed out?
Yeah, I think it is Tyus Jones. I think that just his price tag a little bit too low. He looks like a really nice play here. 5.6x value for us with a projection over 37 now. But everybody gets a little. I mean, obviously, Jaren Jackson looks a little bit better at 9,300. I'm sure the ownership will come up some, but we only have Triple J projected for 4% ownership right now. I'm sure that will come up. Desmond Bane gets a bump. All of these guys look a little bit better. I kind of feel like Triple J, Desmond Bane, they were almost unplayable with Ja in. Not quite, I wouldn't say unplayable, but the price tag just clearly too high for their role with Ja there. Now I think that they're interesting plays all of a sudden. They're still probably not going to get a ton of ownership. Suddenly they're interesting. Luke Kennard at 5,000, I think, becomes an interesting value play. Tillman, we did give a projection bump to, so I'm getting a little bit more Tillman. But yeah, the highest priority pretty clearly for me is Tyus Jones. Do you see it any differently?
No, I'm just kind of rerunning lineups right now and trying to update stuff. We've got our projections updated. That came in pretty quick, so we could give you guys the rundown of that. I'll do it for DraftKings and for FanDuel. Starting with DraftKings, the two players we have projected the highest. This should come as no surprise. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane, both for mid-40s fantasy points. You already mentioned Tyus Jones, 37.5 for him. And then you look through the other guys, nobody really stands out from a points per dollar perspective. Dylan Brooks, 26.7. We got Xavier Tillman at 24. Luke Kennard, 22.5. So, guys that are about fairly priced relative to their salaries on DraftKings. And then if we go over to FanDuel, where once again, the projections are going to be similar, but not exactly the same. The guy who has the biggest difference across FanDuel and DraftKings is Jaren Jackson Jr. Nearly 50 fantasy points is projection on FanDuel. That'll happen when you get the blocks and steals bonus added. And 3 points for blocks and steals on FanDuel going to make Jaren Jackson Jr. look better. Desmond Bane, 42.2 fantasy points, 36.5 for Tyus Jones on FanDuel. Then you got 25.5 for Dylan Brooks, 24.5 for Xavier Tillman, Luke Kennard at 21 over on FanDuel. So he does project a little bit better on DraftKings than FanDuel because of the 3-point bonus. So you mentioned Luke Kennard there. Is he, if you had to pick a sleeper for Memphis, is Luke Kennard the guy that you'd be putting in that spot?
Yeah, of guys that are like under 10% owned, I think because Dylan Brooks is up at 6,100. He's still kind of like Dylan Brooks clearly has higher upside with no Ja Morant there. Like if he's chucking it, and he's clearly not afraid to chuck. If his shots going in at low ownership, he would be pretty interesting too. But I think that so our ownership is clearly not adjusted yet because we have Tyus. Maybe I just need to refresh. I'm sure it is adjusted because they updated the projections already. So give me 1 second to see where we actually have ownership at.
Yeah, a lot of times the ownership is a little bit behind, also because of part of how the ownership algorithm works. You have to wait for some other sites to also update their projections. So you're kind of figuring out where everybody in the industry might be going.
Yeah.
But the last ownership update looks like it's not yet included all of the Memphis news because it's still got Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones is going to be the most popular player on the slate, by the way. Once we get the ownership updated, maybe Gabe Vincent will be close, but I tend to think once we get ownership updated, and by the way, this is not mathematical. I'm just going off the top of my head. This is kind of a fun game to play, though. When ownership updates, how highly projected do you think Tyus Jones' ownership is going to be? I'm going to guess 70%.
I don't think it would get that high. Like I guess like 48. I think I think below 50%. I could be way off, but I don't know that it'd be that high.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6,700 on DraftKings. I'll go a little bit lower. I'll say 60%. I still think it's going to be fairly high, though.
That's fair.
I think him and Gabe Vincent are going to be the two highest projected owned players on the slate. I'm just guessing. Once we get the actual news, we'll give it to you guys, but that's my guess as of now.
Oh God, Manny C went there, so I just got to address it. He says no one's worse than Okoro. that did not go my way last night playing. I ended up with like 25% Okoro or something like that. First 3 minutes of the game, 2 fouls, 2 turnovers, out of the game for the rest of the game. So that
didn't end up coming back in. It worked out for my Karis LeVert shares. I had a bunch of live lineups in the $20 last night. I didn't end up winning the $20, but I was pretty profitable yesterday, so I was happy with that. And Karis LeVert getting extended minutes, that definitely ended up helping. By the way, we're just seeing a lot of teams also kind of overreactions. Like they lose one game, it's like, oh my God, we have to change everything. So the Cavs lose the first game of the series. What do they do in game 2? They cut Isaac Okoro's minutes. They throw Danny Green into the rotation. Danny Green, I can't remember the last time I saw this guy in a basketball game. But not only did he get he played significant minutes, and he hasn't played in forever. So something to take note of. Early series, team loses game 1. Look for some potential changes in game 2. Just kind of seems to be the way the teams are going about and approaching these posts. Also, really aggressive with the minutes. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. But I think this is a result of the amount of resting we saw go on in the regular season in terms of players not playing back-to-backs, getting a lot of days off. Now teams just letting it rip in the playoffs. We're seeing like Jimmy Butler play 43 minutes in games. We're seeing Donovan Mitchell 44 minutes the other day. So I think it's going to be more commonplace in the playoffs. So if you guys are really opposed to rest in the regular season, here's the payoff is you're getting stars playing like 42, 44 minutes in playoff games and occasionally getting ejected and stomping on players. But, different things happen. Super chat from Hannah Banana. Hannah wants to know, DK tiers, please. Thanks for all the content. Cashed $3K in the last 4 days. Good stuff. Love to see the winnings there, Hannah. Love to see it. Hannah was also in the chat earlier when Lofty and I were doing an underdog show. But yes, I've got some lineups built out here. Actually, good timing on the question because I just finished updating for Ja Morant being out. Tier 1, Nikola Jokic. Tier 2 is very close for me. I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler over Jaren Jackson Jr., but you can make a case for either of them there. Tier 3, that is Anthony Edwards for me. By the way, I'm also going to note some of these are going to change if Giannis gets rolled out. I'm currently assuming Giannis is in. Tier 4 for me is, it's funny. So this is how aggressive DK was with the way that they put some of these players pricing and whatnot. They put Tyus Jones in tier 4 with Bam Adebayo and Rudy Gobert. So they were kind of anticipating here that Morant wouldn't end up playing. So tier 4 for me is Bam Adebayo. Normally think, oh, this is a spot you want to play Tyus Jones to an extent, but I still think Bam Adebayo is the better DFS option. Tier 5 for me, that is Aaron Gordon. And then tier 6, I'm going with Xavier Tillman. It was already Xavier Tillman, and then a little bit of extra usage available for him in the absence of Ja Morant. So Hannah, I hope that helps you build out your tiers lineups. So the other piece of news that we should talk about, Neil, and it's already happened, so we don't have to, I'm going to try to push off the Giannis news in the hopes that we just get that news dropped on our laps before we, cover the what if type scenarios. Realistically, we're not going to get the news before the show ends, but
probably not.
I'm going to push it off anyway and hope that maybe it does come in towards the tail end. But the next piece of news to talk about, the Miami Heat were the team that I was getting the most exposure to by a mile prior to the Ja Morant news and having to update for that because we have Tyler Hero out for the Miami Heat. So with Tyler Hero out, there are a bunch of value plays that look really, well, maybe not necessarily value plays, but just a bunch of guys points per dollar look good. Because, like Jimmy Butler looks really good. We've got Bam Adebayo looks really good. But from a cheap standpoint, who are the Heat players that are popping up in lineups that you've built?
Gabe Vincent, I get to a ton of. So does the field. We've got him projected for a 61% ownership. I actually, in the runs, in the lineups of runs so far, I get to above that. I might cut back. I'm probably not going to end up with above 61%, but I'm probably going to be playing a good amount. Gabe Vincent, obviously going to look good. He's 4,200. We're projecting to play about 34 minutes. I think there's upside for even more minutes on Gabe Vincent. So Vincent definitely stands out as somebody who looks great on the Heat. Both Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are some of our better point per dollar plays on the slate as well. Butler at 8,900, we haven't projected for over 50 fantasy points. So he just looks really strong. And Bam is all the way down at 7,400. So we actually have a lot of really strong values. It depends how you define value, I guess, when we're talking about Butler and Adebayo, but point per dollar values, they qualify as good values as well. But as far as like actual value plays, yeah, Gabe Vincent definitely stands out. Kevin Love stands out as well. The field going there 45%. We've got him in for over like 20 and a half minutes, and he's basically a point per minute guy. So we've got him at around 20 and a half fantasy points at 4,100. So he looks really good. I find Duncan Robinson really interesting at 3,100. Obviously, Tyler Hero, you're losing one of your more prolific three-point shooters, probably the most prolific three-point shooter on the Heat. So you got to think a guy like Duncan Robinson, maybe if you want to replace some of that shooting, could come in, get more minutes, shoot the ball, have a little bit more usage. So if he's not going to get ownership, I'm probably going to take a good number of shots on Duncan Robinson. We've got him projected for 1.5% ownership. Obviously, if he ends up starting, that ownership is going to come up, and my interest in him will also come up commensurate with the field's interest. But I'm going to be probably above the field on Duncan Robinson either way.
Are you ready for updated ownership projections? And then we'll talk about any contrarian players we might like from the Heat. But we've got ownership updated right here, and Tyus Jones popular, not quite as popular as I thought he was going to be, but he is 45% owned. So I think you were pretty close to being on the button there. A lot of players around that mark. So we've got Gabe Vincent is still the most popular player. He has come down in ownership though, just with some of the field getting to Tyus Jones now. But the most popular players that we currently have on DraftKings, and I'll do it for FanDuel afterwards, Gabe Vincent projected for 55% ownership, Bam Adebayo 48%, Jimmy Butler 47%, Karl Anthony Towns 46%, Tyus Jones 45%, Kevin Love 44%. Those are all the players who are 40% or more projected owned on DraftKings. For FanDuel purposes, Tyus Jones is the most popular player on FanDuel, and that is even though he's more expensive on FanDuel than DraftKings. But Tyus Jones projected for 54% ownership on FanDuel. Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., 44%, Jimmy Butler 41%. Then we got Desmond Bane at 38%. Aaron Gordon, 35%, and then Caleb Martin at 35% on FanDuel. So he's somebody who's projected much differently on FanDuel than DraftKings, because DraftKings, Caleb Martin's only projected for 11% ownership. Funny how much a $500 price difference will do in between two different sites, because you get $4,200 Caleb Martin over on FanDuel. I know positions play a factor as well, But that $500 salary savings is the difference between being 35% owned on FanDuel and 11% on DraftKings. So let's talk about contrarian options then. Is there anything you like that is contrarian from the Heat, considering there is so much chalky value?
Yeah, Strus at 11%, kind of interesting. I mean, Duncan Robinson is probably the most contrarian that I have interest in. I guess he's the most contrarian who's actually in play at 1% ownership, but I do like Duncan Robinson. Everybody else kind of getting Kyle Lowry at 4%. Looks okay, I guess. I guess the ownership is probably fair at 4%. Strus at 11%, I guess, is fairly contrarian for a 3-game slate. So I guess Strus would probably be my secondary option after Duncan Robinson, players that I have some interest in. And as Stephen Lewitt said, yeah, they can replace the 3-point shooting with Max Strus as well. But I still wouldn't be surprised to see Duncan Robinson pick up extended minutes. We only have him in for about 16 minutes, but if he gets hot, if he's making some shots, he started the second half of the last game. There's at least a chance that Duncan Robinson starts this one. And I think if he's doing well, they're not going to just replace him if he makes a couple threes. If he's, making shots, I think they keep him in, which is obviously what you're hoping for if you're playing him. So I think, probably Duncan Robinson number 1 for me as far as contrarian options, then Max Strus, and then Kyle Lowry number 3. I guess if you count Caleb Martin, I would probably have him ahead of Kyle Lowry. I guess Caleb Martin's 13%, so I would have him ranked ahead of Kyle Lowry as well.
Yeah, and he's chalky on FanDuel, contrarian on DraftKings, so I don't have any issue with that. There's opportunity for a lot of Heat guys to play extended minutes, and I don't think that they're going into this game going, we have to play X player X amount of minutes. If Duncan Robinson comes in and shoots the lights out, which is possible, he's at one point arguably the best three-point standing shooter in the NBA. Not overall 3-point shooter, but there was a point in time where it's just like you're in an empty gym. He's taking the ball off a rack and he's shooting threes. He was in the discussion as potentially being the best in the NBA at that. He got paid a bunch of money and then maybe got a little lax. 3-point shooting seemed to dip a little bit after he got the bag, but there is an opportunity for him with Tyler Hero out. So as far as a contrarian option goes, I get behind that. I think that makes sense. Now, we are not going to have this news in all likelihood, the Giannis Antetokounmpo news, because he's questionable and that game does not lock until 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're also probably not going to get the Miami Heat starting lineup before the slate locks. But let's first talk about this. How realistic do you think it is that Giannis sits today? If you had to give a percentage chance on how confident you are in him sitting or playing, how would you go?
I think I'd say 20% he sits, 80% he plays. Where would you put it?
Earlier in the day, I would have felt fairly confident that he was sitting, not 100%.
Because he was doubtful.
But I did record. So I was recording my Odd Shopper video this morning, and I had said, we have a bunch of unders that are projecting well for the Bucks right now. And there was overs that projected well. There was different ones. And I was like, I'm not touching anything with the Bucks. I know that Giannis is doubtful, but I don't know that he's guaranteed to sit just because it's a playoff scenario. They lost game 1. I think this is fairly close to 50-50, kind of with the John Morant thing, because I think Morant wanted to play clearly, right? It's game 2. They lost game 1. They're at home. Morant wanted to be out there, but you get to a certain point where your body just might not let you play. That might be the same case with Giannis.
Exactly.
So I think
I see people saying like the in-day upgrade he's going to play. I think that certainly helps. An in-day upgrade is a good thing, but also I think I agree with your take that it's essentially like, yeah, but this might be Giannis telling the team, no, I really want to give it a shot. No, I really want to give it a shot. So they're like, all right, we'll call you questionable. And then closer to game time, they'll say, okay, Giannis, you can't play today. So I don't know. So I'd say I'm still saying 80% likelihood that he plays, but I think that it's greater than usual for an in-day upgrade.
Yeah, and the other thing too is when you're talking about Giannis and thinking about him is the upgrade to questionable. It matters, but it would be more significant in the regular season where they don't have to play him. This is a scenario where they're really motivated to play him because of how high leverage this game is, especially because they lost game 1. The Bucks need to win this game, but ultimately, if a player's hurt, a player's hurt. So I think that Giannis is I consider him to be 50-50 for today. If I had to guess, I would lean towards he plays, but doesn't look 100%.
Okay. So you think it's more likely than I do that he sits?
Yeah, like I said, somewhere close to 50-50, but the odds of him playing and looking 100%, I'm kind of skeptical of that.
Yeah, that's fair. So are you not interested in playing Giannis even if he does play?
Yeah, right now I don't have exposure to him. Maybe that ends up being a mistake. Is he somebody that you're rostering tonight?
I don't, if the field isn't going to go there at all, I'm going to have some interest in Giannis just because even if he's not 100%, he's probably just going to have so much usage that, yeah, 11% owner, I guess that's not zero. ownership. So I'm probably going to be close to the field at 11%. Like I'm not going well out of my way to get Giannis, particularly with Jokic on the slate. But I'll probably be close to 11% that the field has.
And by the way, we have some super chats to get to and some, let's see, were there questions in Discord as well to answer? Yeah, we've got some in there also. So if you guys have any questions in Discord, at me. And by the way, that's one of the perks of being a Stochastic Plus Platinum member. You get access to our Discord. You also get access to all of the tools we have over at Stochastic for basically every single sport out there. And here's the easiest way for you guys to sign up right now. Use our promo code, sign up at Prize Picks. They're sponsoring the show today. And when you sign up at Prize Picks, not only do you get a deposit bonus of up to $100, you also get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. You get access to all of the tools we have on our site. And this will add a bonus to signing up at Prize Picks. So go ahead and take advantage of that. Be answering Discord questions and some of your super chats right now. First, Corey Shea, top 3 good chalk and top 3 contrarian options. So who are the 3 players we're going to be considering the best chalk, Neil? There's a lot of good chalk today, in my opinion.
There is a lot of good chalk today. I think I'd probably go. I should probably looking at the boom bust tool before I answer this question, but just my gut reaction looking at the chalk, I would say good chalk. Bam, I would say is good chalk at 7,400. Cat at 7,500, and Tyus Jones. Yeah, I think those are 3 pieces of good chalk.
I think that's good chalk. I think Jimmy Butler is good chalk as well. Particularly, we've brought this up a lot of times over the course of the season, Neil. It's always really hard to figure out what to do with opponents when a key defensive player gets ruled out. If there's no Giannis today, or if Giannis is compromised, it stands to reason this is a much easier matchup for Jimmy Butler, who's already not really all that expensively priced. So I consider him to be a good piece of chalk as well. Now, Corey Shea wants to know our 3 favorite contrarian options. So let's see, who are we going to consider the best contrarian options today?
So I'll give you one that I really like right away, and that's Taurean Prince. I think he starts the game today. I thought he was going to start, and then there have been rumors that he's been practicing with the starters, with the starters practice jersey on. So Taurean Prince, if you look through his games where he starts, his game log, he actually has some really nice games starting. Now it's a little bit different because now we have Cat in there as well, and most of the games that Taurean Prince has started, obviously Cat was not there, but just looking through some, like he played obviously 43 minutes against the Lakers in the play-in game. He only had 24 fantasy points that one, but that would be certainly serviceable at his price tag of 4,000, right? Yeah, 4,000 for Taurean Prince. You take 24 points out of Taurean Prince. His previous start prior to that, 32 minutes, he put up 47 fantasy points. Of course, the game prior to that, he played 30 minutes, put up 8 fantasy points. So that is within his range of outcomes. But prior to that, 22 and 18 fantasy points, not great there. 29 and 34. He has a lot of games where he has started, and if he's doing well, they let him play and he can put up some fantasy points. So if Taurean Prince is not going to be very highly owned, which we haven't projected for 2% ownership right now, I'm going to be way, way, way above the field there.
Couple ones for me. First, LeBron James not really picking up ownership today. And, if I'm not totally sold on Giannis, you play LeBron at 10% ownership. I think that's a pretty reasonable contrarian spend up option, especially to get away from, like a Cat who's really really popular today. So I think LeBron, as far as a pay up contrarian goes, in the mid range, Chris Middleton is not projected for a lot of ownership. Now we've got Middleton projected for 9% ownership. A couple ways this works out. Obvious one, Giannis doesn't play. You got a lower owned Chris Middleton that has a bunch of upside. Something else as well with Chris Middleton, he's reasonably priced at $7,700 on DraftKings, and he's going to be playing a full minutes allotment. Now in the postseason, we just didn't see that very much in the regular season. So Middleton, I think, has a hidden upside just because people forget how good Chris Middleton is and how good of a fantasy producer he could be. Now he's playing full minutes. I like him at 7,700. So there's a couple of contrarian options for me. Middleton, LeBron, 2 guys that you could get behind?
Yeah, definitely can get behind both Middleton and LeBron. All right, so did you say that you're interested in Middleton regardless of whether Giannis plays? Interesting. Yeah, I guess that his price has come down a little bit. Like for a little while, he was close to like 9,000. So now Middleton down at 77. We really have nice pricing on this slate. Like just looking through like the Timberwolves, Cat down to 7,500, Ant 7,800, Kyle Anderson down at 5,900. Just like the pricing across the slate is actually lower than it has been and a little bit more interesting for players like Middleton. So yeah, I could get behind a 10% owned Middleton there. Let's see.
By the way, something else to add. He was pretty frequently above 8K with Giannis healthy last year. We didn't see Middleton healthy much this year. He missed a bunch of games. He played limited minutes in a lot of games, but Yeah, in the past, we've seen him over 8K even with a healthy Giannis. So I think a 7,700 price tag as is, there's a little bit of value to it and potential for even more if Giannis gets rolled out.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. Yeah, I like that play.
But one other thing to add too, or if Giannis just plays and isn't 100%, another path there.
Yep.
Super chat from RADM. He wants to know Tillman or Aldama. Those are the two best options left for him. I prefer Tillman.
Yes, I believe I would too. Yeah, Tillman we've got in for 26 minutes, 24 fantasy points. Aldama, I can't even find Aldama. We do have in for 20 minutes and 18 fantasy points. So yeah, if it's one or the other, I'm just going Tillman.
And now let's go into our Discord channel. Some of the questions that we have in here from some customers scrolling through. I've got a good amount of them here. First, from Trouble35, he wants to know, can we get mine and Neil's opinion on the Fox/Hulk discussion? I don't know what that is.
All right, I'll fill you in quickly. So this is where it got off the rails in both of the shows I've watched today. So apparently Lofty goes to a barber shop where they have a lot of boys will be boys conversations. And one of the conversations was, who would you rather have sex with? Megan Fox with a penis or the Hulk with a vagina?
So crazy me that I saw Fox and assumed it meant De'Aaron Fox on a basketball show.
Right. So it's a bad assumption there.
All right. So what are my options again?
Megan Fox with a penis or the Hulk with a vagina, and you are on top.
All right. Megan Fox is the winner. Next question we have, Sean Sullivan Jr. Would you rather have 100% love or 0% love? It's funny you asked that because I have him in half my lineups right now. So it's like splitting the middle of those. But if I had to, I guess I'd say if my only options are 100% or 0%, I would say 0% Kevin Love. Like there's enough value that I could look elsewhere. So I'm going to say the Kevin Love side. I mean, the 0% side.
Yep, me too.
XX Cubs fan 23XX. Get your guy under control, mentioning those change logs on air. Those are for employees only. Members can't see them. You're getting disciplined by Cubs fan.
All right. Good to know. Everybody's trying to get me fired.
Yeah. One of these days, somebody's going to come through. They could get you banned from DraftKings. We found that out. Yeah. Miami High Life is 4 Heat players too many, or am I being a homer? This is for Miami High Life. I don't have an issue with 4 Heat players today.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I have lineups with 4 Heat players.
I look at my second lineup, it has 4 Heat players in it.
Yeah, my number one lineup has 4 Heat players in it. Champino 26. What are my flag plants and how do you different on this slate DK one lineup? So my flag plants. Let me look at the most recent ownership. Who am I overweight to? As far as to differentiate. I have a good amount of Tillman, who's relative to the size of the slate, 20% owned. Like I'm overweight to that. That's kind of different, I guess. Leaving yourself some space to late swap to players in the event that Giannis is rolled out. That's another way to differentiate your lineups. My flag plants of the day. I am playing a lot of Tyus Jones. I'm playing a lot of Bam Adebayo, a lot of Jimmy Butler. Let's see, any other contrarian guys that I have a lot of?
I mean, I can tell you my biggest flag plant is probably Taurean Prince.
Yeah, there's not like a 10% owned guy on the slate that I have like a massive amount of or anything. I have a good amount of Aaron Gordon. I'm overweight to him. So there's a bunch of guys who are like 20% owned that I have like 30 to 40% of, right? So the ones that would fit in there, like Xavier Tillman, Aaron Gordon. So guys I'm overweight to, but there's no guy I'm looking at who's like 5% of them. Like, oh, that's the guy today. I don't have any of that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it is Taurean Prince, but that's because I'm assuming he starts and nobody's going to play him.
The next question here is from JEW. Grizzlies' overreaction to losing is changing everything and benching Ja Morant. Yeah, conspiracy. He's not even hurt. They're just benching him. Opposite EXO, Bane or Holiday if no Giannis. If Giannis is out, I'd prefer Holiday.
Yeah, Holiday is cheaper, right? Slightly. Like 8,200 to 84.
We have the price points on them are I mean, I assume he has the space for either of them, considering and also they have different positions. So I just assume this is for the guard spot. But yeah, I would have Drew Holiday projected better than Desmond Bane if Giannis is out. Gang Green wants to know your opinion on the reports that Prince will start and if we would go to Bane instead of Jones. Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane, number one, you could play them together. Number two, they're in such different price points. Like, I don't view them as a 1v1 type situation.
I don't either.
I have more exposure. I have more exposure to Tyus Jones, though.
And yeah, the Taurean Prince, I've given my opinion that I do think he starts. I already kind of thought he was going to start. I was surprised that they had started Nickeil Alexander-Walker both of the two previous games. So I was still kind of thinking, okay, they tried it. It worked once. Didn't work the second time out. Now they probably switch it up. And Taurean Prince, to me, was the logical replacement there. They like Kyle Anderson from the bench. So yeah, now hearing those reports, I'm more buying into it.
Yep, I am actually. I'm giving some extra minutes to Taurean Prince so I get more of him. I had some of him before, but I want more than what I had.
Yeah.
Next question here is from Opposite Exo: LeBron and Aldama or Butler and Tillman? That is Butler and Tillman for me.
Yeah, what's the ownership on? So we have Butler at 50% ownership. We have LeBron. It's probably actually LeBron and Aldama for me.
Yeah. What is the
in a GPP?
Yeah, aggregate ownership is probably going to be lower because LeBron is so low owned, but I also view Aldama as being really over owned.
What's Aldama's ownership?
24%.
Oh, okay. That is over owned.
So yeah, we actually have Aldama as one of those negatively leveraged players on the entire slate. It's tough because I view Butler as being a good piece of chalk. I view Tillman as being under-owned. I prefer Tillman to Aldama today, but I like LeBron as a contrarian play. But ultimately, I'm going to Butler Tillman. That's where I have more exposure to today. Next question is from Sir George Peelsworth. Thoughts on Jamal Murray in a FanDuel GPP? So here's the issue I have with Jamal Murray, who I'm underweight to the field to right now. There's so many good point guard options, it's hard for me to prioritize him. There's just other guys I prefer getting to. And he's also $8,700 on FanDuel. It's a pretty big price tag. A little bit much for me to pay today. Pat Clay Tomstar wants to know which player is more likely to ruin my over parlay by getting hurt, Jimmy Butler or Anthony Davis. Jimmy Butler today. Who's more likely to get hurt?
Wow.
Butler or AD?
I mean, I would always say AD over just about anybody.
Fair.
Maybe that's outdated.
Butler leaves a lot of games early this year. I'm going to go with Butler. You go either one. They're both, it's tough. Two chalk answers, and you can't go wrong with either.
Yeah.
Gang Green wants to know Porter or Gordon. I'm pretty sure I have more exposure to, yeah, that's Aaron Gordon for me.
I have, yeah, it's Aaron Gordon for me as well.
Next question is from Mincash Merchant. Reeves or D'Lo? What universe do we live in where this has become, by the way, a legitimate question? The answer for me is D'Angelo Russell, but it's funny that, D'Lo was such a big acquisition for the Lakers at the trade deadline, as was Mike Conley for your Timberwolves. But who would have thought that a couple months removed from that, we'd be asking who would we rather get to, D'Angelo Russell or Austin Reeves? I get funny. Reeves was great last game. The answer for me is Russell, though.
Yeah, me too.
The next one is Noah wants to know he's locking in Bam and Tyus in DK20 max, too aggressive. I don't have an issue with that.
No, 20 max, not at all.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't have 100% of either of them. But by the way, Domantas Sabonis will play tomorrow. The injury, were they playing it up a little bit to try to get Draymond Green suspended?
Absolutely 100% playing it up. Yeah.
It's good. They got him.
Said that it was a conspiracy theory on Twitter, and I was like, that's just accurate. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's just like clearly what they were doing, I thought.
But I mean, it's still conspiratorial, is it not? They're conspiring by definition.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. Wait. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Fair.
So we're okay, conspiracy definition. The actual definition of a conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. Now, it's not against the law, but I mean, they're skirting the rules of the injury report here to play up an injury to try to get Draymond Green suspended, right. In my opinion. I would consider that conspiratorial.
No, that is conspiratorial. You're right.
Conspiracy. One more question here from Bass DG wants to know which game should I stack in the night slate to fit in Jokic? It's difficult with Jimmy and Bam. I mean, you don't have to stack a game from the night slate. I do have the game I have the most exposure to of the later games. It's funny, like most exposure. There's only 2 of them, but I do get more of Denver and Minnesota than Milwaukee. It's kind of, I don't have a lot of exposure to Milwaukee at the moment. I have a lot of exposure to Miami, but I get a lot of exposure to both sides of Denver and Minnesota.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's probably that one for me because I'm playing a good amount of Miami. I mean, you got Gabe Vincent really cheap, Kevin Love super cheap.
But are you playing? But as far as a game stack, like, you're playing that many bucks on the other side?
I'm not at all. Yeah, so yeah, it would definitely be the Timberwolves game.
And then one more here from the Black Mamba 81 wants to know, on a 3-game slate, how much money left over is too much on DK? And then thanks, guys, and the Lakers in 4. I don't have that many lineups that leave a ton of salary on the table today.
Yeah, on this slate, I think that the pricing is efficient enough that I wouldn't be inclined to leave more than like $600. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't have an exact number. I just kind of run lineups, and whatever ends up coming up, I'm cool with. But for today, I just don't have that many lineups to leave a lot of salary on the table. Didn't seem like something that's all that necessary on this particular slate. Now let's get back to the super chats that we have. And yeah, we've had a few of them pile up here. This one is from Jay, wants to know Murray or Bane. Let's see. So we don't have to worry about salary at all. It's just Murray versus Bane. That is Bane for me.
Hang on. Oh, Jamal Murray. Yeah. I was like, who is Murray? Jamal Murray. Yeah, I mean, if you have the price to pay it for Bane, it would be Bane. He projects better. Yeah. I do like Jamal Murray as a contrarian play on DraftKings. Not that he's not contrarian. He's a positive leverage in our tools, but 27%, not actually contrarian.
Yeah, he looks much better on DraftKings at 7,600 than on FanDuel at 8,700.
Oh yeah, yep.
So Jamal Murray, if anybody's confused, we talked about him before, but yeah, for DraftKings purposes, I agree he's better, but I prefer Bane to Murray for just a 1v1. Got the Thunder. How do I get ownership percentages on Fantasy Cruncher for tiers? You don't. There are no ownership projections for tiers. Apologies. Not something that's available, at least as of now. Nobody's doing ownership projections for those. Who knows? Maybe if I keep going and pushing it, I'll make this thing so popular, the contests grow, and then the ownership ends up following in tow. But yeah, as of right now, there are none. Tim Strong. This is Tim, by the way. It's spelled Timm, and that's why he's so strong, because he has extra M's in his name. Best utility play, 10,400 left on DK. Anthony Davis. It's utility play, 10,000. So you're debating between AD or LeBron, and just in terms of fantasy points, the utility spot, I prefer AD.
Yeah, he projects a fantasy point better.
So AD is your answer there. Next question is from Trevor Beaver. Trevor wants to know, chances Oladipo picks up minutes since Hero is out. So two-part question, two ways I'm going to answer this. Number one, I'm going to say fairly likely. I think Oladipo steps on the court at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think he plays enough to be fantasy relevant, though.
Yeah, I'm not playing any Oladipo today, I don't believe. Yeah, I've got 0 shares. Yeah, we've got him in for 1 minute.
Yeah, I think he's going to touch the court at some point, but it's not anything, like I said, that's going to be significant enough for me to get to him today. Update my lineup, start working on those while I answer these questions here. Next one, Hunter
at 11. Sorry, Max Strus at 11%. I just want to say it's growing on me. I think I'm going to try and get like double the field.
And maybe he'll shoot 110% from 3 this game.
That's right.
Hunter Schwartz, top 3 highest owned point guards. So do you mean by me or by the field? I'll answer it either way. For me, or I'll answer it both ways, I should say. For me, it is Gabe Vincent, Tyus Jones, and Mike Conley. Neil, do you know who your 3 most rostered point guards are right now?
Yes, I do. They are Tyus Jones, Gabe Vincent, Mike Conley. Is that the same 3?
Yep. We hit on the same 3 there. And then in terms of the most rostered by the field, that is Gabe Vincent, Tyus Jones, and Mike Conley. So not too much different than D'Angelo Russell, also pretty close there to Mike Conley. So I said I was going to answer it both ways, and then ended up being the same answer for both. Abyssus, 3. Not 2, not 4. Abyssus, 3. How much Kennard, 26 fantasy points, fantasy projection, is that too much? I have him under that projection in terms of my exposure to him. I have less than 10% of Luke Kennard. Is he somebody you're getting much of?
Not getting into a ton.
So Giannis out, by the way. So we did get that news during the show.
Okay.
All right.
This is fun. Are we going to get the news that Javon Carter is starting?
I don't know if we're going to get that news, but there we go. Giannis has been ruled out. So I win because you asked, because I said it was going to be 50-50. You said 80% each way. So that makes me the winner. What is my reward for winning? Nothing. But we get to figure out now what we're going to be doing with this situation. Really quick, though, I want to make sure that we answer the rest of the super chats before we start to touch on this. Joseph Corona wants to know the top 5 FanDuel cash options. So if I look at FanDuel, I'm going to say Tyus Jones, Jimmy Butler, Jaren Jackson Jr., I'll say Desmond Bane. I want to say Bam Adebayo, but he's center eligible only, but I get so much from a run lineup, so I added him as well. So just to recap there, Tyus Jones, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jimmy Butler, Desmond Bane, Bam Adebayo is 5 players that I'll say you should be building your cash lineups around. Then getting back to Discord, JW wants to know Conley or Strus, last man in. I prefer Conley. Do you have a choice? Do you have a preference between Conley and Strus?
Oh, yeah. It was, between those two, I'm going to go Conley.
All right. So let's go and look at the situation now with the Milwaukee Bucks, who I had just, no lie, I clicked upload on my lineups, and then Giannis got rolled out maybe 5 seconds after my lineups finished submitting. That was about the time lapse between that, which is the way of NBA DFS sometimes. And by the way, you want to know how good our data team is? Projections or already updated for the absence of Giannis Tetsukupa. Now, this also might be one of those ones where, they're able to roll it back to something they had done earlier in the day. But either way, that's how quick our projections are around here. If you guys want access to our projections, you can either, one, sign up at Prize Picks and get the 1 month free access. If you sign up using the link to Prize Picks, your other option, sign up using the link below, and you get 50% off the first package you sign up for. That's another way you can get access to all of our tools and projections. And this is how quickly our projections update in real time. Giannis got ruled out. So we got the message from NewsGod at 7:18 that Giannis was out by 7:20 Eastern time. Our projections were already updated for the absence of Giannis. So we've got this up in front of us right now, and we've got the updated projections. Right away, Neil, who become the higher priorities for you from Milwaukee?
Did we get a Javon Carter update? I don't even see Javon Carter's change for him in here.
Yeah, Carter's projected for 17.93 fantasy points now.
Okay, so he doesn't. I think he gets a start. So I think I would probably. I'm going to have a lot of interest in Javon Carter. Obviously, now Chris Middleton at 7,700 looks like a phenomenal play. Drew Holiday looks really good at 8,200 as well. Really bumps across the board. Just looking at all of the bumps that we gave to all of these Milwaukee guys, it's going to be highest priority probably Chris Middleton, followed by Drew Holiday, followed by Brook Lopez becomes really interesting now, but I do think Javon Carter is starting. So I do think Javon Carter, especially if we don't get the news before the first lock, may go a little bit under-owned. So he's kind of a priority for me for GPPs in particular. I
think Bobby Portis is going to start.
Do you?
Yeah. I'm going to build lineups as if Bobby, but I mean, if it's not him, I could just change it afterwards. But
true. But
Javon as of right now, I'm building my lineups. I'm expecting Portis to start.
Interesting. It's a bigger risk to assume that Javon Carter is starting than it is to assume that Bobby Portis is starting, I think, because if you do put Javon Carter in as a starter and give him 28 minutes or something, you're going to get a lot less Gabe Vincent, I think.
That's true. And by the way, somebody, Jay Bottom in Discord.
Never mind. That's the same game. I was thinking Gabe Vincent was the first game. So never mind.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of thinking through that. I was like, I mean, to an extent, you could just change it though. But Jay Bottom just said Portis or Lopez at center. I prefer Bobby Portis. My personal preference. Yeah.
Actually, never mind. We haven't projected higher for lower price. So he looks, man. We are very much assuming that Bobby Portis is starting.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if he doesn't, though, let's say Bobby Portis doesn't start, he comes off the bench, he still has to play extra minutes.
Yeah,
and Bobby Portis is a really good fantasy producer when he gets on the court. So I'm building my lineups out, updating them as everybody else is right now. And so I don't know what the outcome is going to be here, but I presume I'm going to be getting to a pretty good amount of Bobby Portis. I would be surprised if I didn't. Mid-30s fantasy points projection, sub 6K price tag, power forward and center eligibility. Bobby Portis is going to be one of my most rostered players when I update these lineups. Are there any contrarian guys
So I'm
that
getting
we should be
to
looking at?
a ton of Jake Crowder now.
Okay.
That is not something that I adjusted. So we've got him in now for 19 fantasy points at 3,400. And suddenly I get 88% of Jake Crowder if I don't adjust anything. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to end up being contrarian because obviously the projections have updated there for the Bucks. Do we have updated ownership here?
I'm not sure because I'm just
okay. Actually, I can let me see. I think I can read it right here. DraftKings, Middleton up to 21%, so that feels really low. Lopez up to 13%, Drew up to 12%, Grayson Allen up to 9%. I have interest in Grayson Allen at 9%. I was already getting above 9% before the honest news, so definitely interest in Grayson Allen. We've got Portis up to 19%, Javon Carter up to 7%, Jake Crowder up to 9%. All of these guys, I have a ton of interest if these ownerships are to hold. I'm not sure if they will. My guess is that we have another ownership projection coming, a change there, but yeah, at these ownerships, all of these guys would be super interesting to me.
Yeah, so let's see what I am getting to a good amount of Jay Crowder now.
Yep. I got 88%.
Yeah, more of him than I would like, actually.
Yeah, no.
How much do I want to adjust this? Yeah. All right. We'll answer some of you guys' super chats now. I guess I'm just rolling with a lot of Jay Crowder because the slate is about to lock and I got to upload lineups at some point. So Jay Crowder it is, but let's get to your guys' super chats now and we will see what questions you guys have in store for us. I'll run one more crunch to maybe get a little bit less of Jay Crowder, but here we go. A couple more super chats that came in. New DK tiers with Giannis now out. Yeah, let me pull up DK tiers and see what is now changed for me. I'll run more lineups here. Tier 1 is still Jokic. That doesn't change. Tier 2 is still Jimmy Butler. Tier 3 is now going to be Drew Holiday for me. Tier 4, Bam Adebayo. Tier 5, Aaron Gordon. Tier 6, Xavier Thomas. So the only thing that really changed is Tier 3. My favorite option is Drew Holiday. That's the one. And because Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are both in the same tier. So that's what makes that one stand out the most there. So hopefully that helps you guys out there. Noah, thank you for the super chat. And then my filler arc, Bobby Portis or Ron Gordon.
Ron.
Ron.
That's going to be Portis.
Yeah. It's supposed to be Ron. I think because he spelled like but yeah, Bobby Portis for me. Know. James Magruder, 4,400 utility or under on DK cannot be Vincent or Carter. So 4,400 or under for utility. Who do you like the most there, Neil?
All right, let's see. Cannot be Vincent or Carter?
Correct. Could be anybody else. Can't be Vincent or Carter for 4,400 or less,
though. Huh. So we have Kentavious Caldwell Pope projected better. I think I'm going to have more interest in Taurean Prince.
For me, you know what's funny is I had just updated the amount of because I totally agree with what you said. I was thinking through, I was like, yeah, you know what, Taurean Prince, I do think he's going to start today, and I'd updated him to get more exposure. And then we get this Bucks news, and the amount of what I got to Taurean Prince dropped down to sub 10% after I had him in like a meaningful amount of lineups. And I don't really know that I want to change it at this point, just because I like the value that I'm getting from the Bucks and from the Heat. But 4,400 or less, that for me can't be Gabe Vincent. Yeah, that is going to be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for me.
What I loved, so I still like Taurean Prince quite a bit, and I'm still playing quite a bit. I loved him when he was like the value who's going under own, but now it's like I think we're going to have a lot of value that goes a little bit under own. So I still like him quite a bit, but I'm coming down from like 50% to like 20% maybe.
All right. My lineup, 3 minutes to go. I got my 2.5 minutes technically, but yeah, 2.5 minutes to go. My lineups are locked and loaded. So all set there. And it looks like we've got, we got one more question here. The Black Mamba 81, is D'Lo still playable tonight after the Giannis news? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I mean, D'Lo 5,800 is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's absolutely playable. So you know what? I don't even know how this ended up happening. I guess it's just a pricing thing. I do not have my Mike Conley shares got cut so significantly by the Bucks news. I have so much less of Mike Conley that I did before, but it's not like I'm getting, like, I have Javon Carter point guard exposure, but it's not like I'm getting to a ton of guards from the Bucks. But I guess just because it enabled me to pay up elsewhere, that it cut into my Mike Conley exposure. But I do have more of D'Angelo Russell than I do of Mike Conley now.
I think I always did.
No, because before, remember,
yeah, never mind. It's pretty close. Mike Conley and yeah, actually, I have more Conley. Never mind. Man, D'Angelo Russell. Earlier in the day, I was getting like 60% D-Lo at 5,800. It's come down quite a bit.
Make sure that there was no more super chats that I missed, but it looks like we have got them all right here. Yeah, we answered all your guys' questions. So, Neil, we've only got about a minute left to go here, and then we're going to be wrapping up. But just number one, do you have your lineup set?
Yeah, I'm going to run one more crunch here, but I'm good.
Oh my, you're running it. We've got like 30 seconds to go until lock, and you're running another crunch. You're mad, man.
I know I am.
Oh my God. So I'm not even going to ask you any questions here. I'm going to let you get your lineups in.
I'm fine. I just got it done. I'm good to go. I'm good to go.
All right. You're really cutting it close to the wire.
I'm done now. I got it done.
All right. Good for you. All right. Good stuff. But just out of curiosity, what's the impetus to want to run the one last crunch with 30 seconds to go until lock?
It's funny you ask, and I already forgot what it was. There was somebody that I saw that I think it was Drew Holiday. I think I wanted to get a little bit more Drew Holiday, and actually Max Strus I had cut down. I still only got to 10%. I really like Max Strus, and I got it back up to 10%. It's, man, the slate changed so much there right at the end because we got so much new good value that it's like all these plays that I've loved that we've been talking about is like suddenly I go from like 60% to like 8%, and I'm like I'm trying to just even that out. So I think it was mostly Drew.
Yeah, I wish I got to more Drew as well. By the way, quick super chat. DM Brian, can you play Portis and Crowder together? Yes, I have lineups with Crowder and Portis together. By the way, Bobby Portis is my most rostered player on the slate right now. Who did you end up with as your most rostered?
Currently, it's Jay Crowder. I cut back on his projection and still got to a ton of Jay Crowder. Yeah, I don't know what I can't wait to see what the Bucks starting lineup is because I'll probably get to more Bobby Portis after we get it. Because right now I built for Javon Carter potentially being the starter.
Yeah, so I mean, it could change for me too if Portis comes off the bench, but I'm still going to play him a lot. But either way, that brings us to lock. If you guys haven't done it yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. This is a good one. We had some injury news that doesn't always happen during the playoffs. We had an exciting one today. So guys, thank you for watching. I'll be back here tomorrow to break down another slate.